Welcome into the Panthers.com video mailbag. Staff writer Max Henson here answering your questions about the Panthers offseason. We got our first question this week from Lynn on Twitter, who asked, why just a one-year contract for cornerback Brandon Boykin? Well, that was what was agreed to. On both sides obviously feel good about this deal moving forward. For Brandon Boykin, he took less to come to Carolina, but feels this is a great fit for him and what's really a prove-it year. He's out to prove that he can be a productive nickel cornerback in this league, coming from a pretty tumultuous season out in Pittsburgh where he went through some adversity, was a reserve on that team for a while, didn't really get his chance to play a significant role till later in the year, and then started to play well. So his market kind of was changed after that, and for the Panthers, they looked at it as an opportunity to bring in a player in who's highly motivated to prove that he can be a top corner, a top nickel corner in this league, and it's an opportunity on a one-year deal for him to do that. We've seen these one-year contracts work well for the Panthers in the past with some free agents they've brought in, and if Brandon Boykin plays really well, that's really good for the Panthers, and that's going to be really good for the player as he then goes back into free agency. So a win-win for both sides as they try to get the most out of Brandon Boykin in a defense that should be even better with him in the fold. We got our next question from Brandon Rector, who asked, why do you think Dave Gettleman has not re-signed defensive tackle Kyle Love? This is an area of need. Well, it definitely is an area of need right now for the Panthers. Gettleman had talked about at the owners' meetings the fact that they've got 3 defensive tackles right now, would like to add a 4th. That's what they've been rolling with in their rotation for the past few years now, those 4 defensive tackles. For Kyle Love, it's a player that the Panthers have been in talks with. This is definitely something that still could possibly happen. Of course, Kyle played well for this team. Panthers were impressed with his work, and for him, I guess it's an opportunity to see where he might fit best. Carolina obviously is very strong at defensive tackle at the top with K'Wan Short, Star Lotulelei. They brought in Paul Soliai. And now we also know that the draft is very, very strong at defensive tackle. That's something Dave Gettleman and Ron Rivera have mentioned several times. So the Panthers, it would not surprise anybody if in the first or second round even they took a defensive tackle. Maybe that's something Kyle Love is thinking about as well. So we'll see how that unfolds, but definitely defensive tackle is a position to watch for this team going forward. We've got our last question from Arian Camp, who asks, which need is most important right now, defensive end or cornerback? Well, we'll start with the cornerback position. Of course, we mentioned at the top Brandon Boykin coming in, the free agent, to play that nickel spot. That fills a need for Carolina, and Dave Gettleman talks all the time about you want free agency to set you up for the draft so you can take best available player, and that's what Carolina has done at that cornerback spot. Defensive end position, I think, is interesting for this team. We talked about Charles Johnson coming back on the team-friendly deal. That was huge. You talk about Coney Ealy and his fantastic Super Bowl performance. You feel really good about those 2 players. And there's a lot of youth at the defensive end position right now in this Panthers roster. So for me, I think this is a team that could use another edge rusher, somebody to bring some more heat on the quarterback. Of course, Dave Gettleman talks all the time about one of his truths of football. You have to put pressure on the quarterback. And you can really never have enough guys to do that. So with that philosophy in mind, and with the strength of this draft being on the defensive line, again, I think we could see Carolina address the defensive end position as we get towards draft season. Well, thanks for the questions this week, everybody. We'll do it again next time, right here on Panthers.com.